Today's video is about two important factors you need to consider when choosing a freedive course. What's up guys, my name is Ray from Freedive Nomad. I do videos about freediving and about xiaoliuqiu, which is the small island I live on in Taiwan. So if these kind of topics jive with you, then hit the subscribe button so you'll be notified when I come out with new videos, and while you're at it, click the like button. So what are the two factors to consider? Number one is being taught equalization well before you start your open water session in a course. And number two, the student-to-instructor ratio. Now I'm going to be real with you for a second here. A beginner freedive course is not easy. And for whatever reason, scuba diving often gets compared to freediving. However, passing a scuba diving course is rather simple and easy. Just check out this quote I found on Dive Training Magazine. As active recreational pastimes go, scuba diving is one of the easiest to learn, blah, 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 blah. But if you can breathe through your mouth, chances are you can learn to scuba dive. So just a pure guess for me, but I think 90% plus people pass their scuba diving course on their first try, so long as you're not afraid of water and your sinuses are not blocked up. So a pass rate for a freedive course in Taiwan anyways is much, much lower than that 90% for scuba diving. Now, I really don't want to discourage anybody from taking a freedive course. Of course not. I just want to bring awareness to some issues you may have so that you can spend more time in researching a freedive course that is right for you. So these two factors I'm about to tell you about will significantly increase your chances of passing your freedive course on your first try, and not only that, but more importantly, make you a competent freediver. So first, equalization lessons before open water session begins. Now, what is equalization? As you dive deeper and deeper, the pressure from the outside environment gets higher than what's in your ears and your sinuses. So you have to perform something called an equalization, which opens up your ears to accommodate that differing pressure, or equalizing that differentiating pressure. Failing to do so can result in injury to your ears or your sinuses. Now, if you've done any scuba diving, you would think that you already have equalization down. But trust me, the equalization with scuba diving is much different than freediving. First of all, in scuba diving, to equalize, you can simply just move your jaw, swallow, or just exhale through your nose while your nose is pinched. And this is also aided by the fact that scuba divers, for the most part, have their head up. And that is where the air wants to naturally travel, thus making equalization pretty easy. Now in freediving, we go down with our heads down, and the air wants to travel in the opposite direction. Thus, freediving requires a much more stronger and more efficient form of equalization called frenzel. The movements required to equalize with scuba diving, everyone's already familiar with. Moving your jaw around, blowing out of your nose, swallowing. However, in freediving requires movement or manipulation of body parts that you didn't even know existed. And so that makes it much more difficult. And failing to equalize is the number one reason why freediving students fail to pass their course on the first attempt. Thus, when choosing a freedive course, I would favor the one that teaches you the frenzel equalization well before the open water session. Student-to-instructor ratio. So first, let's go through some simple math to explain this. A typical freedive course has 4 students to 1 instructor. Each open water session is about 2 hours long, or 120 minutes. Each dive takes about 5 minutes, and that's for the student to relax, to do the dive, and the instructor to break down the dive. So 5 minutes. 5 minutes divided by 120 minutes is 24 dives. Now 24 dives divided by 4 students is only 6 dives per session. So as a student, you will only get 6 dives per session to gain proficiency in a lot of these skills required to pass your first freedive course. Let's just take one skill, for example, which is the duck dive, which you can see right here. The duck dive is difficult because it requires a lot of movements to execute in a span of 1 to 2 seconds. You have to make sure your hand position is right. You have to make sure that your head position is right with your chin tucked in. You have to make sure that your hip bend It's not too much, it's not too little. The timing of your breaststroke. Some of my students have managed to have gotten the gist of it, the duck dive, in just a few attempts, but my most recent student, who you can see right here, needed something like over 30 attempts before he was able to finally get it more or less right. And that's before even having to tackle the depth requirement. Right here you can see him executing a great duck dive and completing his 12-meter dive and depth requirement. And this is just one of many, many skills and variables you have to adapt to during a freedive course. You have to learn to hold your breath. You have to learn to hold your breath and fin. And then you have to hold your breath and fin down to depths you've never even been before. Not to mention learning how to safety and buddy and rescue somebody from a blackout. And of course, equalization. Also for some students, just getting used to being in the ocean, like I did on my first course. It took some time for me to get comfortable in the ocean. So if you're in Taiwan, you're considering taking a freedive course, please consider Freedive Nomad. We have the lowest student-to-instructor ratio, which ranges from 0.5 students to instructor, like one student with 2 instructors, to 1.5 students per instructors. We also get you online well before the open water session to make sure that you have Frenzel down. And yes, freedive courses are more expensive at Freedive Nomad, but seriously, you get what you pay for, as this will give you the best chance of passing your first freedive course. This is especially so if you are time poor. So if you're interested, reach out. My contact details are below in the description, and comment below if you're thinking about taking a freedive course and why. And finally, if you are a total beginner freediver, like you've never taken any courses before and you want to learn more about it, check out my podcast up there. It's called the Total Beginner Freedive Podcast. The link is below in the description. It has super beginner information like what exactly is freediving? Is freediving dangerous? It's not. And how to choose a freedive course. And again, my name is Ray from Freedive Nomad. We'll see you in the water. We'll see you in the next video. We'll see you in xiaoliuqiu.